Anything, my podcast. Yay! Hi, Jax. Welcome. Say hi. We are going to have an amazing time. So, my name is Akua Kant, and I am a LinkedIn coach. I love all things LinkedIn, but I'm also an SME, and I am super excited this year to really focus in on winning corporate contracts. Who would not be? I mean, everyone wants to win corporate contracts. Like,
Yes.
there is so much opportunity out there, but as an SME, you might be struggling. You might be thinking, how can I do this? It's impossible. I'm one person. I'm three people. Like, how can I actually navigate that field? And so this is what the Diverse Supplier Cheerleader Podcast is all about. It is to help you to demystify how to work with corporates. So my first guest is Jaxx Nelson from WEConnect International, and she's going to give us an amazing, run through of like what to do in order to actually, make
No
it simple.
pressure.
And of course, exactly.
Oh God.
And guess what? It is January. We all have colds and flus. So if you hear us coughing and sneezing and you're being honest, it's just us keeping it real. Okay, so
Oh,
welcome, Jaxx. I
thank
first
you.
of all really, really love to know. Tell us a bit about your background. Who are you? Where do you work? And how did you get into this?
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very privileged to be your first guest here. So I'm Jaxx Nelson. I work for WeConnect International. We are a global NGO, and I'm the UK and Ireland country manager here. My background's quite interesting because I've done the corporate world. I started in sales for legal publishers, ended up at the FT. Then I worked for my mother's business for about 7 years, which was the translation language agency in the city. So, worked for a woman-owned business for a long time, a black woman, so understood sort of the challenges there. And then after that, left and worked for a number of startups as business development and sales, helping them to sort of get profitable and then moving on. And then 5 months ago now, landed here at WeConnect, and sit sort of firmly in the middle of sort of corporates and women-owned businesses. And I think because I've done both sides of it, understand quite well the challenges of both sides, the frustrations that we all feel, and try and help people sort of navigate that, helping women work out how to work with corporate. So I'm excited to sort of to have this conversation because, we are, you know, 210 corporate member buyers. We've got 21,000 women globally we represent. We are
Wow.
really committed. Yeah, it's a hell of a lot. We
Yeah.
are really committed to closing that gender gap in the supply chains. It needs to be done. I often say to people, it's a shame that WeConnect has to exist because it shouldn't be that we have to make people buy from women, but it does, and we do, and we are here to help. And, like you said, I exist in this role to help UK and Ireland women-owned businesses get in front of those corporates. So let's have this really cool conversation.
Amazing. And so, how is it that people who are excited by this amazing intro, by the way, can connect with you and like find out how to like dive into WeConnect info?
Yeah, so we are on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, Jaxx Nelson. We Connect International Europe on LinkedIn. We Connect International for our rest of the world part of We Connect. We post a lot on there. I do a lot of outreach myself in terms of bringing women-owned businesses into the fold. I try and get out to as many events as possible to meet women-owned businesses because, we have corporates that want to buy from you. We haven't had anybody in my role for a couple of years now, so I'm trying to bring visibility back. Let people know that this organization, if you are 51% owned or more by a woman business, you can register with us, you can certify with us, and there are corporates that may have contracts with you. But we help to educate you. We provide the opportunity to get you in front of these people, so that you can eventually start those relationships that lead to contracts down the line. So yeah.
Ooh, that's so exciting. Now, one other question on this point, because I know that we actually have a global and international audience. You say you're focusing on the UK and Ireland. If people are further afield, like America, how can they also connect with your organization?
Yeah, we have on our website on weconnectinternational.org, we have a number of, we call them market leads, who are responsible for different regions. You've got Stephanie who's out in the US, and you can reach out. I mean, come to me, I'll forward you on to the
Oh,
right person.
brilliant.
But we are truly global. We are across 140 countries that we certify in. So, sorry, that we have women in businesses in, we certify in 60. But we do help people as much as possible with their reach. So we'll have UK companies that want to reach out to the US, and we do that sort of cross-pollination because we want your reach to be as global as ours is as a woman-owned business.
Yes, yes, yes to the international and global reach. Of course, why not? We want to go global for sure. So, like, we're all talking about like diversity, equity,
Mhm.
inclusion, and being a diverse supplier. Now, why is that important to you as a leader and for your company's mission and value? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, I'm a black woman, so by dint of that, I'm diverse, as are you. So, it's about creating opportunities, and when you are a when you have a diverse business, or when a diverse business enters into a corporate space, they bring such a different lens with which they look through the world, right? They've got different creativity, different innovation. But I think when you look at a corporate from the corporate perspective, we know that diversity and sustainability, all these things add to the triple bottom line. It's people, it's planet, it's profit. It that becomes sustainable. It makes your business stand apart from your competitors. It means that you benchmark yourself higher as a corporate than your peers because you've got new information coming through from perhaps smaller companies that can be more agile and more lean and more innovative, more creative because their reach into the community is stronger than say that of a huge corporation that you've been working with for 20, 30 plus years who is steadfastly doing what they've always done. There's no sort of there isn't, and I'm not saying for all corporates, but there is a level of innovation and curiosity that comes with a diverse business. And I think from my perspective as I guess a leader in this, that as a black woman I've found that I think me being here in this role is actually quite important right now because I think a lot of black women have seen me here and realized that actually there is someone out here advocating for them. As well as, of course, I support all women, but I think because I'm a black woman, people are seeing that and going, hang on, well, she's done the corporate side of stuff. She's had her own businesses as well and has her own businesses. And there's someone out there that can advocate for you because they understand the challenges that you face. Every single person with a story that's different to yours, that's different to mine, can add color, pardon the pun, to an organization, a different perspective, fresh ideas, that's what helps companies to grow. And so, there is a huge, genuine, tangible impact when a big company embraces supplier diversity. It creates economic empowerment for everything around them. So, the way that women buy, we have data on this, the way that women buy from other communities, smaller communities around them, we genuinely affect them. We reach back in, we put the hand back down and reach people back up to bring them alongside us on this journey. And so it's, we need the perspective of the disabled community, the LGBTQI plus community, the black, the brown, the veteran, the social enterprises. All of this adds to a corporate's value. They also are looking at their supply chain as an entirety. So the more in that supply chain you can have diverse perspective and diverse businesses, it adds to, again, that triple bottom line, but the sustainability of any company. And actually that sort of vibrates out into the world itself. I think companies and people within those companies want to work in places where they see people that look like them. I don't want to work in a company, I don't want to work in a corporate where everyone is a white man or everyone is a white woman or you don't feel comfortable where you're not amongst your people or people that will understand you for who you truly are. There are certain things that some people will never get about other people, and that's okay, but by bringing those voices together we can learn and we can create change and we can be better, really. I think, which is, I think a lot of us feel like this for 2025. If you give people the opportunity to be heard, real change can happen. I'll give you an example. We had our European conference last year in Disneyland Paris. It was fantastic.
Mm,
And one of this lovely chap called Bilal Bam, he's neurodiverse and he runs a
mhm,
pharma company. And he mentioned to me, we were having the evening session and he was wearing a baseball cap.
mhm.
And it was the dark sort of strobe lighting. He
Yeah.
said, do you know what? The only thing I'd say about this is that this lighting is a lot. Like
Mm,
I'm finding it quite overwhelming. And I said, my
yeah.
God, like I'm not neurodiverse. I
Mm,
didn't realize. I said, I'm so sorry. I said, look, hey, don't worry, it happens. But
mhm.
if you don't allow people sort of the seat at the table to feel included and to feel like they belong and to let them know that you've messed up a little bit, not intentionally, of course.
Yeah.
You know, that allows the next time we run this event, I'll be thinking, he said that. I've got to make sure that for every person who's neurodiverse, yes, we had the accessibility stuff,
Mm.
we had some blind people that joined and visually impaired, and we made sure for that, but we just missed the trick on this one. But I know going forward, it's something that sits in the back of my head even now. Whenever I'm planning something, is let me think about this. Is this going to be too much for somebody? And genuinely, I would consult with him and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think? People want to belong, right? We are humans are tribes, right? We grew up in tribes. We have got to this point, I think, in this weird way now that we're kind of all trying to be separate. And I think the strength is together. The world almost feels like it's trying to pull us apart, but actually, if we combine, we're stronger. Which I know is a very obvious thing to say, but it's true. And I think sometimes we try and go off tangentially, but it doesn't always work. I think we need to accommodate people, and that's why, bringing people together is important. That's why I love doing what I do, because bringing women into the fold brings in different perspectives. We have all this chat about menopause now, and period equity. This should always have been talked about, but it's like it's only the last sort of maybe 4 or 5 years, I feel. I don't know. What do you think? That it's sort of coming to light almost.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I just wanted to add upon before we close this segment is
Mm.
about the expectations of corporates, ultimate ideal customers and clients. Do you think they expect more in this area actually now in the last 4 or 5 years, that people are more aware and expecting more from organizations? Would you agree?
Yeah, I get some of my corporate that say to me, they equally want to know, yes, we want to work with a diverse supplier, but what is their impact within their own organization? Are they equally doing things to help? And I think, we all have to be impactful and purposeful in our own way. As people, not just as people with companies, as workers. I think it's important, because otherwise we're not going to create change, and there isn't going to be equity, and relationships are going to flounder, and the knock-on effect will be, I think, quite drastic. And I think we just have to be a little bit better in being more inclusive. That's why all these advocacy groups exist, because we understand that, yes, there are brilliant companies that exist in this world that are trying to do brilliant things, that have brilliant products, brilliant services, but can't get into those corporates. We have the ear of the corporates. We know what it is that they're buying. We want to help you get into them. And I often say the door is ajar because my foot is in this door. I'm trying to help you walk through it in the best way possible, by understanding what the corporate challenge is and the corporate need is, and feeding that back to the women I represent and say, hey, have you thought about this? Could you re-angle what it is that you do in a slightly different way so that you are more attractive to a corporate? Because I'm just trying to bring everybody in on this ride, on this journey, so that everybody has their slice of the pie. There are some corporates that have, I won't name one, but they have a sort of something like £50 million target towards working with just diverse suppliers a year.
Hold up, repeat, please.
£50 million for just in diverse suppliers for 1 year.
Wow.
Imagine if you got a piece of that pie. I mean, it's a crazy amount of money. And so I'm like, okay, who do I need to bring into this? How can I help upskill? How do I help educate somebody? How do I let, people know in this sector, there is a huge corporate that wants to work with you, that has a hell of a lot of money to spend on just diverse suppliers. And this is just one corporate. They all have these lofty targets that they want to hit.
Wow. This is, I think, so inspiring for us to think about as SMEs, that the market is large, it's huge,
so
and there are many opportunities. And so we need to get our own way. And part of that is our being educated and informed and being in the right networks and listening and upskilling. Now, this leads us neatly on to our next question about, if you are an SME and this is your year for working with corporates, Jaxx, what are two ground rules or things you think, okay, what's 101 of starting to think about working with corporates? What would you say?
I'm going to tell you, first off, I think what a lot of women don't want to do is say that they are women-owned business. And, but and that's the thing. I mean, I remember my mum growing up, and she, her figurehead of her organization was my godfather, who was a white Frenchman, because she
Okay.
wasn't sure how she was going to be received as a black woman in corporate spaces. They were
Mm,
huge companies. But and the thing is, that's 20, 30 years ago now, and
mhm,
that still exists for some people. I've had conversations with black female owners who say, well, no, actually, I have a white man who I have as figurehead. I had one lady say to me, well, I don't want to use the fact that I'm a woman in business as, a way to get in. I said, listen, it's not a handout.
mm.
You will get in because you're good. And
Exactly.
and you know what? For the first time, if you are a woman ticking a box saying, yes, I am a woman-owned business, and that is what gets you over the line, and there's only one, you are, level pegging with a traditional business, and it's that one thing that gets you over the line, it's just because you're a woman. Come on, guys. Or should I say girls, ladies, tick the box and let's go. It's not the time to be sort of, what's the word, modest about it. Like, we exist because corporates are looking to buy from women-owned businesses. So highlight that you're a diverse business. Register yourself with WeConnect. Certify yourself with WeConnect so that you can then get the additional benefits that we give you, which is the educational piece, the upskilling. We work with brilliant corporates like, JP Morgan is doing this excellent work in France, certifying women-owned businesses. We have got, oh gosh, what's the other one? Bear with me. We're working with Disneyland Paris, who is launching a training and mentorship program to help women-owned businesses. We have these corporates who want to help you be as business ready to work with them as possible. And you work with one, you get one corporate name on your your capability statement. You're working with everybody else. They just need to know that you are capable of working at scale with a company like that. So get yourself certified. Bear in mind also, we've got the UK Procurement Act coming in. And that means that the public sector
Mm.
is going to start having to rethink about how they procure goods and services in the UK. So it's going to prioritize value for money, not just lower cost, but equally, they're going to start thinking about social value, and that means how you impact your community, and how environmentally friendly your company is, and how diverse your supply chain is. I often say to the women I represent, make sure you're buying from each other, collaborate with each other, cross pollinate, buy from each other, join together for bigger contracts, because all of that makes you more attractive to a corporate still. Um, you know, so that is my sort of, be diverse and be proud about it. Shout about your certification, put it on there. I would say another one, understand the needs and targets and goals of this target organization. I think you have to really research what they're doing. Make sure you know who you're selling to. Make sure you're speaking to the right people. Don't blanket it. Look, I've worked in business development sales. I know how hard it is. It's a thankless task sometimes, but all you're doing is, I mean, back in the day, it was picking up the phone. Now it's email, LinkedIn, 7 different touch points, 8 different touch points, and then you get someone to reply. I understand the frustrations, the pain that's involved, but keep going, but be targeted and be specific about what you're doing. Be prepared to play the long game. Rome wasn't built in a day, and I say this all the time, put as many irons in the fire as you possibly can. Don't put everything into X company. Go to the networking events, go to talks if people are doing them, engage on LinkedIn. You're brilliant at that. I mean, you're bringing people into conversations, you're tagging people in posts, stuff like that. Start conversations, ask questions. Don't always be about the sale. Be the person, because people
Yes,
buy
this
from
is
people.
gold.
It's
This is not y'all.
But I'm not going to buy from someone who I find a little bit annoying. I remember when I started out in sales, a brilliant piece of advice I was given was, be helpful, be useful. Have a conversation with someone. And even if you don't get to somebody, but you do your due diligence, go on their website, look at their impact report, look at their sustainability, look what matters to them, find that person. Do they like golf? Do they like cricket? Whatever it is. But find a way of sending or sharing something with them. Hey, this is in your industry. Does this affect you? Send something that could be of interest, that could open a dialogue. Oh, I read this and thought about you with this. By the way, we've just started doing this thing. I know we're not talking right now, but however, when you're ready, maybe this could be of interest at some point. You don't have to do it all the time, but just every so often, just so you're kind of in the back of their head when they're thinking about something. You've just diversified in a separate area, or you've just started some volunteering work with somebody, or you're doing X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. But make it so it's not just, hi, it's me again, I'm trying to sell you something. Nobody wants that. Where's the unsubscribe button?
Right,
I
right.
don't want that. Please leave me alone. But do the networking. But equally, networking is a tough one, right? Because You could network till your feet fall off
Yes.
and still get nowhere. Be intentional about it. Don't go to everything, because then you're just someone who goes to the opening of an envelope. You're not a Z-list celebrity. Be intentional about where it is that you're going. Pick things that suit you. I would also say this: networking is hard. I don't always feel confident doing it myself. So if you have someone you could go with, little buddy system, I mean, I love doing that. I love finding someone who else also looks a little bit lost. Excuse me. And then be like, hey, do you know anyone here? No, let's go together. And I would introduce them and they would introduce me, and you sort of, Laurel Hardy double act kind of thing. Whatever works. But, be persistent. Partnerships are built on trust, they're built on rapport, they're built on personality. You'll see, this is a very small industry. You'll see people over and over again, and you'll get to learn them and you'll get to know them. And eventually you'll get there. But it's not a quick fix.
Yes. So I think that just to remind people, like, relationship building is key, networking, and also, not being shy about being a woman. I think that one of the things that people are still, I guess, nervous about in this age is about, like, money doesn't come to women, or funding doesn't come to women. And so having that figurehead can still be an issue. People might think, actually, yes, I might want to have that white male, white woman, whoever is not me, figureheading my company so I can get more money, yada. But actually, if you really want to be in the game of diverse suppliers, then you actually have to put yourself as the face. You have to own that. And I think you made that point really brilliantly, because a lot of people will still think that maybe I should not do that, but you have underlined why you actually should.
And let's remember the end of last year, they started with it's all what's her name? She's this brilliant entrepreneur, Debbie Waskow, and I'm not sure I'm saying her surname correctly, but she has got this £250 million female founder fund. There's another lady called Nell Daly who started a VC fund called the Revenge Fund. Women are doing things for other women, and shout proudly about it. It's not the time to be quiet. And do you know what? It's our time. I think men are great. I love men.
Yes.
But I think it's time now that we're getting access to things. As you say, these VC funding percentages are just disgustingly low for women. Investment it's disgustingly low. We know that, for women to get investment, they're asking for handouts from friends and family and, colleagues or ex-colleagues, because we can't get it from elsewhere. So it is our time to shine. It's our time to sort of proudly say that we are women-owned businesses. And I think another thing is, I've had conversations with women who are looking to register and certify with WEConnect, and they sort of say, oh, well, why should I do this? And, I don't want people to think it's just because I'm a woman-owned business. And I say to other people, what you have to remember, these are not women who were born who are 5 years old and started a business. These are women who are probably in a 30-year career. They've gone off, had kids. They've realized that actually the working world doesn't quite work with their family life now. And they've used that 20, 30 years of expertise and then started their own business. These are women who are smart, who have got experience, who've been top of their game in their own previous corporate backgrounds and have now gone out by themselves. So you're dealing with people who have a wealth of experience, who are tapping into other women who also have wealth of experience, and creating their own little industry, their own world, their own businesses to then sell back into these corporates. So you're not dealing with green businesses, you're dealing with incredibly highly educated, highly experienced women.
For sure. Now, one thing I want to ask, because I have had this, and we've talked about it before, it's about the certification. So, like, it can seem like a big dragon, it can seem like a scary thing, it can seem like you might have to give your blood. So, Jaxx, now I've got you here. Please tell everyone why we should not think that.
I mean, look, certification is essentially us as WEConnect International doing our due diligence on you on behalf of our corporates. So it's basically dotting the T's. Wow, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. It's because I'm ill. That's what I'm going with.
No
worries. And letting people know that you are 51% managed, owned, and controlled by a woman, that all your paperwork is in order, that you are who you say you are. So then a corporate can say, absolutely excellent, we can now work with you because you are exactly this kind of person, you sell the services we're looking to buy, Brilliant. Certification is a process that you go through an external assessor because we don't want to have any bias from me or my fellow teammates. It's a necessary evil, I suppose. I mean, evil's not even the word. You pay a certification fee, but for that, we want to give you as much value for that, which is why we set up as many relationship building opportunities as possible. So, for me, I'm setting up very sector specific events where, marketing types can come together and meet people to look corporates looking to buy from marketing services companies. We have the conference because, again, we want to put you in front of corporates looking to buy from you. We had 2,700 matchmaking sessions over our 2.5 day conference in Paris last year.
Wow.
We had 79 individual corporates, not people, actual corporates plus representatives that came to that conference, and people left with ink drying on contracts. We're an NGO. We're not here to make money from the women. We are here to get you money from corporates. That is literally my job. I say I work for women. If you're a woman, I basically can work for you. And my job is to make sure that you are positioned in in front of the right person so that you can have that conversation, start that conversation, and eventually win a contract. Like I said before, I work to understand what they need, the corporates. I work to understand what it is that you sell and create that connection and start that relationship. And that's my job. And that's why I love doing what I do, because I can be impactful in my life by helping you get a contract.
That is so brilliant. And that leads me on to the next question, which is all about actually, you told us your area of expertise, love it. So now, where can people find you? Like, where are you speaking? Like, what conferences are you doing? Like, how can people get plugged into your world and stay connected and get all your amazing wisdom and advice?
I mean, amazing wisdom and advice is strong, but but you can find me. So I will be at. So we've got our UK supplier inclusion event, which will be with all the other advocacy groups as well in September of next year. This year, oh my God, it's 2025. We will also be doing our European event in November of this year. I will be at Bud Leaders, Georgina Wilson's event in February, the end of February. Also, I'll be speaking at the Veracity Consultancy event also in February. We'll be doing something for International Women's Day, as yet TBC, but we have to do something, of course. It's a very important day for us. And also for the month, we'll be doing, lots of things here and there. But yeah, that's sort of, I'm at this point now, I'm sort of 5 months in. I feel, more confident to be speaking about this. And I'm very passionate about it, so I'm sure you can see. And so, I'm doing sort of more of these panels, and I did one with the GSA last year, which was really great. So just trying to get out and bring visibility to WeConnect in the UK. As I said, we've not had someone here for a little while. So I think, what I'm doing is helping. I went to the UK Black Business Week with Michelle Raymond, who we both know very well, and she was hosting a panel there with some of my corporates, JP Morgan, BP, HSBC, and Meta. And when Michelle very kindly mentioned that I was there and I'm from WeConnect, this, that, and the other, it was sad to me that people there didn't know that we existed. So I am trying to raise our profile here because women need to know that I'm here to work for them, that my organization is here to work for them. And so, I'm very grateful that you invited me onto this podcast because I want to let people know that we exist. My job is to get you a job or a contract, and let's keep the sort of momentum going. It feels like 2025 and certainly the back end of 2024 has been very sort of like female empowerment, especially sort of around the funding stuff. So I really want to sort of see the numbers for the community grow because there is strength in that. And also working with the other advocacy groups, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're traveling the same direction with different audiences. And that's what's key. So I'm speaking in as many conferences as I will have. I'm trying to get out regionally as well because I'm a London girl born and bred, but London is not the centre of the universe. So I want to get out to Leeds and to Manchester, and there's a wonderful hub in Wales for female tech. Ireland, we've got a lot of people as well. So I'm really trying to get out regionally, and so you'll probably see me jumping around the place on LinkedIn. And if anyone has events that they sort of want to invite me to, I'm always happy to attend. I love meeting new people, despite the whole networking nervousness, and sharing about certification and what supplier diversity is and how we can overcome this together.
That is fantastic. Now, you've given us some really amazing things to chew on in terms of like what to do and how to get it right. Now, let's talk about how not to get it right.
Get to do it.
Things that mistakes people make, because obviously, like, there are people out there like, I'm already in the game, like I'm doing
Mm,
this stuff, but actually I'm not quite converting. I'm not getting as many responses back, or something isn't quite right. Like, I am excellent. I have the experience, all the stuff, but hold on a minute. I'm not getting like the thing that I should be actually getting in terms of responses or like contracts or whatever. Give us like 2 mistakes people should be avoiding.
Okay, I think the first one is corporate procurement processes are long, they are hard, there is a lot of hoops you got to jump through, a lot of red tape. Please be patient. And I know it's hard. I have been a woman-owned business. Excuse me. I've been an SME, and all you want to do is make money. All you want to do is get that turnover. All you want to do is pay your bills and pay your staff, or be able to grow in some way with that money. And I get it. It's so frustrating. It's really hard, and it's heartbreaking at times because you are working every hour under the sun for this thing you're passionate about and you know you're good at, as you said, and you know you've got this thing. Be patient, but equally have irons in the fire. So corporate procurement processes are difficult. They are not, the decisions are not made quickly. And so what you have to do is be prepared for a long or slow sales cycle. What you need to also do, I think, is worthwhile to mention. Speak to lots of different individuals in that company. Have multiple stakeholders you're talking to. Don't aim maybe necessarily for the biggest contract. Start small and prove yourself. And then, your foot is in the door, then wedge your way in further and work in and sort of kind of go in and out like that almost. So you're sort of, who's this person? What do you do? Who can introduce me to? My job is basically that as well. I will help where I can to sort of, oh, have you thought about talking to this person or this person? And actually, procurement leads, I mean, I work with some of the kindest people, I've ever really worked with in my career, because these procurement heads are really trying to do the thing. Their buyers, sometimes need a bit more convincing, and that's what can sort of slow the process down. So I'd say understand the process, be patient, but have irons in the fire elsewhere. Don't just, pin everything on one company. I think another one, we ask our women-owned businesses to prepare a capability statement. And that's a one-pager which sort of says who you are, what you do, why you do it, why you're excellent, yada, yada, yada. Now, don't send a generic one, and don't send a generic pitch. People want to feel that they are being spoken to directly. So do your due diligence. Again, go and do your research, understand who you're talking to, understand other people's challenges. Look at it as business, as like a real business development kind of thing. You're selling yourself, but you're also letting them know that you understand how they work. And so make sure that it's incredibly relevant to them, what they've asked for, who they are, the industry they work in, who they're trying to attract, who are their competitors, what are they doing. Get a real rounded perspective on who it is you're talking to, or aiming to win a contract from, and then tailor it to that. I've got another one,
Yeah.
and that's don't overpromise. Be transparent about sort of what your capabilities are. So I remember when I was growing up, my mum always said to me, and this was her mentality, and it worked for our business. She said, if a corporate asks you to do something, say yes and then work out how to do it. Now, that isn't always, I mean, that's probably not true in every single thing, but for our business, that did work. So, be honest about what you can and can't do. Large organizations especially want reliability and trust. And I think if it's your first sort of moment of working with a company, you really want that to go incredibly well. So be as upfront as you can, do exactly what you can do beautifully, and do it bloody well that first time. And then the second time, then you can, because you're already in there, and you've signed all the paperwork, you're already part of the system, then you can be a little bit more creative with it. And then you can sort of work out how you might do things differently. Equally, I'd add into this, what I think is really kind of cool is when you start out as a small business working with a corporate, and in a smaller contract, because what often happens is you can learn about other things you see about how this corporate works that maybe they don't see because they're so entrenched in it. You have that outside perspective, and you can kind of go, well, hang on, I noticed this about the way you do X, Y, or Z. Have you thought about doing it this way? And therefore you become more valuable to them because you're giving an outsider perspective that they are not maybe able to see. You don't see it in front of your face all the time, do you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's true. It's true. Which leads beautifully on to our next question, which is, as a member of WeConnect, how can you get access to opportunities to like to bid for contracts? Like, what's your process with that?
Right, so we have this excellent portal called WeCommunity. And so essentially it's a global database.
Yeah.
I don't know where I went with that accent. So we have 20, so we, as I said, 21,000 women-owned businesses. We've got a section for the women-owned businesses that, as I've said, we, suggest to the women-owned businesses work with each other. On the other side of it, we've got the member buyer section, which is where you see all the corporates. And if you're a certified member, the contact details of who to speak within procurement there. Now, these are some of the loveliest people in the world in procurement, those are the people that will be your champions to get into, the buyers and whatnot. So those are the sort of the two avenues you have, but equally we then have the business opportunities section, which is where you will see every opportunity that exists across the world that you can potentially tender for, but again, only if you're a certified member. So the true benefits, of course, come with certification. But yeah, you can search for, under services and products and, location and sector, all different things. It's a really good tool for sort of starting those first connections, and understanding sort of who you're speaking to and who you need to speak to within these corporates.
Wow, amazing.
It's great.
Now, finally, we love hearing all about like the opportunities, the scale, like why we shouldn't be hiding behind, figureheads and putting ourselves out there. One of the things, obviously, in my area of expertise is LinkedIn, and people thinking about, okay, how to position themselves on LinkedIn as an SME who wants to attract, corporates in terms of like demonstrating that they are excellent, they're experts, that they know their stuff. What would you say in terms of advice for the kind of content that they should be producing, or the kind of relationships that they should be seeking to build on LinkedIn? What's your advice or thoughts on that?
So I think, look, case studies and success stories are what people always want to see. I think a corporate wants to know that you have worked with someone who is like, their competitor, someone of the same scale, doing the same sort of thing, because people are risk averse. I don't want to take you on if you've only worked for a very, very small company and I am, I don't know, GSK. Like, oh, I'm nervous. So, give me a success story or a case study that shows you've made tangible results. Show me the impact you've created. This is credibility building. This is showcasing the value you bring. It's really helpful for corporates to see, and it means that they know you can work at scale with competitors or peers,
Fantastic. Now, I want to ask you something that is related to this.
Okay.
So we have a lot of SMEs, and myself included here, who may have worked for like corporates before, but they may not have been paid, but they've worked for a credible corporate, but because they were green in the first instance, and they didn't really know, how corporates operate and the kind of bureaucracy and clearance that might be needed. Now, let's say in this example, you've worked for a corporate, but for whatever reason, you didn't understand that actually, they are not going to actually let you use their name, even though you've done the work. They were happy. There was no issue. But you cannot actually mention the corporate. In this case, how can you demonstrate in your case study that it was still a credible corporate? What would your advice be?
Look, you can allude. Don't use the name, of course, but this FTSE 100 company in the pharmacy sector, in the pharma sector, people aren't foolish. There's only going to be a handful of people, but you can also, you're not lying, and you're also not calling out the corporate. So just make it as sort of anonymized as you possibly can. By still being true to yourself. But I did that in my previous job. You would just take out the pertinent information. You can still talk about it. You just write it in a very sort of clever but anonymous way. Another point I had to add to this question you asked me was, talk about your unique journey. People buy people. Again, it's that story. What are your values? What other impact are you making? Because this, like I said before, I'm getting this from corporates. They want to know that they're working with a supplier that equally is impactful. So, what's your mission? What's your story behind the brand? Are you sustainable in your own way? Are you impactful in your own way? Is your supply chain diverse as well? All of these things, it's emotional connection, right? So storytelling is what often gets people over the line in business, in building relationships, and all sorts of things. So I would like more case studies, more success stories, more unique stories, because we've all got one. And I think if we all shared more about them, I don't know, it would all just be a bit better, wouldn't it? We'd all understand each other more. And because it's always a point of connection between people. We've all suffered something or gone through something or, had something exciting happen, which is quite similar to other people. So build that connection. And I think that's what really adds to relationships and to business relationships, because you can take people from company to company to company. You know, if I work with you here, but I move to a different company, I'll be like, she was excellent. I'll take her to the new place. And that's often what happens, you know, especially in procurement. The world is very small and people do jump around. So if you're good in one place, they'll take you to another place. And equally, because procurement people are so lovely, they all talk amongst themselves and want to recommend suppliers to each other. You know, they're like a little family. It's beautiful when you go to this conference and you see them all catching up because they are all genuinely good people trying to put good back into the world by bringing diverse suppliers into the companies they work for. So make these people your friends.
Okay. Now, one final question just to wrap things up before we finish up, because I think it's been really fantastic. Is that with the storytelling, you know,
Mm.
we want to be able to tell our own story, but how can we balance the fact that it's not about us? Like, yes, they want to hear a bit about us, but not get too over lost and kind of like forgetting the fact is that we still need to come back to the point is how can we help them?
So you're asking me to pare back the story,
Yes,
our story. Well,
indeed.
well, I think that I'll be honest. I think it's as simple as just not going overboard with it. Just, you know, you can tell your own story,
Hmm.
but equally, you know, that is great. But also the business case of what it is that you do and the value that they bring. That's what's important to the corporate. That's the story will get you into the conversation and to meet that
Yeah.
person, to have that understanding and that connection. But really, when you're going to pitch to the buyers, your story is excellent, but that's a small part of who you are. It's the who have you worked with? You know, how have you worked with them? What proof have you got? What tangible results have you created? How can I benchmark you against someone else? What sets you apart from who else I'm using currently? Why are you better than the incumbent? And working on those bits of information, you know, understanding the buyer's challenges. Because everyone's got them. Everyone's got someone else breathing down their neck. So it's like, how do I make your life easier by being a really good service provider to you? And so working out what that is, I think still it goes back to due diligence. Really researching who you're talking to, what you're talking about, what their problems are, and positioning yourself in a way that addresses all those challenges as much of you as you possibly can.
Yeah.
But it's
No,
also
this
hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, this is great because this beautifully like demonstrates to people that, you know, yes, we need to our story builds relationship and it gives us, you know, something for us to kind of like start to build this relationship, but actually it is down to the facts. What you beautifully like outlined, you know, about competitors, the evidence, case studies, and all the things that you actually need to actually get the sale. And that's what I think I want people to be reminded of, because I think that a lot of the time we can know that our story can be powerful, but
Yeah,
actually it doesn't actually win us a contract.
it
It's
doesn't.
those things that you just underlined, which are so important, which I think that was so beautifully said. And I think is something for people to bear in mind and to really like work on putting that together in order for them to actually like, you know, get their results. Like any final like you know, thoughts on that before we close up our amazing podcast?
Well, I'll just say again, people are incredibly risk averse. The bigger the company, the more risk there is bringing a small supplier on versus a 30-year incumbent with a guy called Bob, who you know really well, who's been doing great work since forever. You know, as much as WeConnect exists, I am not there to, you know, I cannot make people buy from you. I cannot. You're not going to get through just because you're a woman-owned business. You have to prove you are better than the current person. And so many of these women in business are. They are just excellent. We have everybody from the solopreneur all the way to people with hundreds of people in their organizations. We the whole gambit of women-owned businesses across the world essentially. But you have to prove that you can successfully compete against their traditional competitors and do it well. You know, we do as much as we can. We register you, we certify you, we upskill you with the corporates that we have, we educate you as much as we can. But at the end of the day, it's you and them in that room doing that pitch. So you put your best foot forward. You bring, you know, do the due diligence, make sure you know who you're talking to, and provide that value that they're looking for.
Yes. Brilliant. Okay. I think on that note, I'm going to say thank you so much, Jax. Like there were so many gems to like actually think
I
about.
hope so.
There were. I mean, you know, I think one of the overriding things that I think is most valuable from our discussion today is that people buy from people.
Right.
And we have built a human connection, but we cannot overvalue that in terms of like the real things about the bottom line,
Yes.
about the evidence,
People
about
need, people like to make money. We cannot
yeah,
beat around the bush here. We are not doing this
right,
out of the nicest of our hearts. We have
indeed.
bills to pay, children to feed, school fees to pay for, shoes to buy, hair to have done. You know, you know, so at the end of the day, we have to be real about this. Big corporates only want to continue to make more money. And so, but we can also get access to that money they want to make by working with them. So just make yourself as attractive to them as possible, know who you're talking to, and speak proudly about being a woman, if you know, a woman, be a black woman. That's two boxes you're ticking. It's not often we get to tick boxes in this world, and you know, and it's a good thing. So I think, you know, let's tick these boxes, let's get these contracts, let's work with WeConnect, let's, you know, network and relationship build, and, you know, bring our friends into this fold, because we are a community of women supporting women to get into these places, into these spaces, to access, you know, 50 million from one company. I mean, it's a crazy amount of money.
Wow, wow.
And but equally, all the other advocacy groups, we're working together to do this, to you know, as Emma says, to shift the needle, to push it further. 2025 is the year for that. And I think we, you know, we all have our work to do here. We have our job to do in this, but let's do it successfully. Let's do it well. And let's show corporates that women in businesses aren't a nice to have. Like, you know, you're not just giving it to some little woman. These are brilliant women. And, you know, words I probably can't say on a podcast.
Yes, keep clean, thank you. And on that note, we are going to end the podcast. This has been absolutely amazing.
Thank you so
really,
much for
brilliant.
having me.
So excited for everyone to hear the gems that you have shared. Amazing, right? Thank you so much for being a guest on the
Thank you for
show.
having
This will be
me.
coming out in due course. This is going to be such a firecracker for everyone to really like get their teeth into, and also for them to really think about how they can actually win big this year with winning corporate contracts. Woo,
And
woo.
find me on WeConnect International Europe, Jaxx Nelson LinkedIn, UK at WeConnectInternational.org. I'm around. Find me.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you so much.